Oh, there you are, YouTube. Doodle 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 doo. Subscribe if you're willing. No pressure. I just watched a movie for the first time today. A movie for the first time. A movie that I hadn't seen before for the first time today. And it's a film from 1996 that somehow just like got past me. It skipped over my house. It I I had to have known about this because my wife is very familiar with the movie, even though she hadn't seen it either. It's the first time for both of us. But the trailer for this movie played on the VHS before Now and Then. That movie about the young girls from the 60s who grow up and, there they are in the 90s, remembering their childhood. So this movie is called Bed of Roses. Probably saw it in the description or the thumbnail, and it stars Christian Slater and Mary Stuart Masterson. Christian Slater right here, who to me looks like Kevin Costner in this picture, right? Like first glance, doesn't that look more like Kevin Costner than it does Christian Slater? Maybe it's the outfit too. But also right there, it's kind of like Christian Slater, or sorry, Kevin Costner's like 90s mullet. And Mary Stuart Masterson's, I don't know who she looks like here, but she does not look like this in the movie. She has more of a blonde hair, maybe a little bit of red in it, but this was clearly taken afterwards. The movie's called Bed of Roses. They're laying on a bed of roses here, but the roses in the film are not this color. No, they're more of like a lavender color, which to me have kind of a funeral look to them. But anyway, let me tell you what this movie's about. So this came out in the mid-90s, 1996, got past me. My wife knew about it, but had never seen it, so we decided, I got this as a gift for her recently, Christmas, birthday, Mother's Day, something like that, and we just watched it for the first time tonight. So, here we go. Love blossoms as Christian Slater sweeps Mary Stuart Masterson, who I know from Fried Green Tomatoes. Big fan over there. Also in Benny and June. But for me, Fried Green Tomatoes. Okay, let me start over because I just went on a little tangent there. Okay. Love blossoms as Christian Slater sweeps Mary Stuart Masterson into a passionate affair. So she's with she's with Josh Brolin, kind of. It's more of just like a relationship out of convenience sort of thing, because she's very kind of cold and distant and doesn't want to open herself up to anyone, and she's kind of a workaholic, and so is Josh Brolin's character. So it's just like they can be together but also not be together, and it's sort of a understood relationship. With a great supporting cast, yes. The voice of Bobby Hill from what is that show called? King of the Hill is in this, and she plays Mary Stuart Masterson's best friend, and she's great. Very beautiful. Looks like Demi Moore in the movie. With a great supporting cast, heartwarming performances, and witty sophistication. I don't know about that, I guess. We did laugh a few times. It's a classic romance in the tradition of Sleepless in Seattle, and I see that. Sleepless in Seattle, I think has a more stronger, like, budget type thing. Like, it just looks like a bigger movie, I guess, compared to this. But this has a very nice atmosphere to it. And I don't even know if you would notice this at the time, like in 96, because it may have felt very normal. But watching this all these years later, the 90s-ness of it really shines, and it's beautiful, especially when it comes to Christian Slater's wardrobes. I always thought Christian Slater was the coolest guy ever in the 90s, like Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. But in this, and Interview with the Vampire, lots of different things. We all know Christian Slater. I always thought he was the coolest dude ever. So cool. And he looks amazing in here. He's kind of like a, River Phoenix type, in a way. And like a, young Jack Nicholson. I really wish he could have played Jack Nicholson's son. That would have been amazing. But yeah, I've always loved the way he talks, the way he kind of looks, makes his facial expressions, all of that, and the way he dresses. His hair, I wanted that hair so badly, but I committed to other types of hairstyles back in the 90s. I just always thought he was so cool. I went on a tangent again. Oh yes, sort of like Sleepless in Seattle. The seeds of love are planted when Lisa Masterson, a highly powered investment banker, receives flowers from a secret admirer, Slater. But when his fairy tale fantasies clash with her workaholic ways, they soon find out sometimes love does conquer all. So, secret admirer. How do these two meet? Basically, the very beginning of the movie starts with Masterson finding out that her dad has died and she's, next of kin or whatever. Like, it hits hard right away. We actually paused the movie to make sure we weren't starting it in the middle. So that happens, and we later learn that when she learns this at work after she makes this great deal, and she has to, remain composed, but then she finally gets home and then just like bawls, right? And Christian Slater, who's walking by, just happens to see her crying in the window. And he wakes up the following morning, goes to her apartment, and then watches her walk to work. So he finds out where she works, and then he, just felt bad for her. He saw somebody who was very sad over something, and he's a florist, owns a flower shop, and he's like, this person deserves some flowers. It all sounds kind of creepy, but his intentions were good to sort of, he notices her, and then he sort of stalks her in the morning to find out where she works, and then he gives her some flowers. But there's no name on it or anything. So it's just like, here are some flowers, and then he's going to move on with his day. Because we do find out that he has some tragedy in his life as well. He lost his wife, pregnant wife, wife and kid during childbirth. And that's sort of when he decided, because he used to be a wealthy type, Wall Street type guy, and he moves to, or becomes a florist instead, because he just thinks it'd be a great job to give people flowers and put smiles on their faces. So it's kind of a way to distract him away from the sadness in his life. So yeah, he gives her these flowers, and then she's like, who gave these to me? Who gave these to me? Sees the flower shop logo, goes to the flower shop, and she's like, these didn't have a name. Who's it from? And he's like, I can't tell you. The person said they didn't, want to know. And then we find out later, and he comes clean a couple days later or something like that and says, it was me. This is what I did. And she's like, that's creepy. Are you going to kill me? What are you going to do? So, there's some hesitancy for them to get together or whatever. But, I don't know. Things sort of... I think she sees the good intention behind it. And while it is creepy to follow her to work, to find out where she works, she sees good intentions, that he's a good man, and, start spending time with him. And then they start, sort of, I guess you could say, dating. And there's some great montages to some music. What is it called? Independent Love Song by Scarlett plays over this wonderful montage where they're sort of getting to know each other and having fun together and kissing and smiling and laughing and stuff like that. And it just feels so 90s and perfect. And it just made me, one, sad that I hadn't seen this movie in the 90s. It also made me just dearly miss the 90s and the types of films that were coming out. Just those mid-budget films and people going to see them. Although I didn't see this one, and I didn't know this one at all until my wife told me about it. Again, somehow skipped over me. But there was just so much great 90s-ness to it. The music, and, oh yeah, also, what was the other song? Insensitive by Jan Arden. That's in this. The movie the end credits is Sarah McLachlan. I mean, it's just like powerhouse of 90s style music happening. And again, the atmosphere is just very beautiful. I think we're in New York or something, if I remember right. And There's flowers everywhere and just beautiful streets and buildings and wardrobes. All of it's so good. I could have seen this movie. Let's say these two actors are not in it. I could have seen this maybe Meg Ryan and Keanu Reeves, because he's basically playing Keanu Reeves. There's only one moment where he kind of like makes a mistake, but he's like a perfect person, sort of, you know, and it felt very Keanu Reeves. I could have seen Keanu. If you've ever seen Sweet November, it has some Sweet November vibes, but a little bit reversed. It would be like, this is Keanu's character and this is Charlize Theron's character, in a way. Actually, very much so. So if you've ever seen Sweet November and if you like it, you'll like this. Roger Ebert did not like this. He called it, he goes, it's two sad sacks that get exactly what they deserve, each other. And that is what it is, but it, you know, is kind of nice and sappy and everything. I think he called it sappy also. I lost my train of thought. I was somewhere talking about probably atmosphere, music. Oh yeah, he does do one little mix-up. Spoilers here. He takes her to meet his family, and his family is very, and it's Christmas moment, so you could say Christmas movie maybe. Probably not, though, because it never feels festive, and you are never really allowed to sort of sit in the comfort of the festivities, because she's very anxious, because she had a very troubled childhood, raised by an adopted father. She's an adopted child, so her adopted father seems like abused her, and so she doesn't have good vibes from family, so she's very anxious during this big Christmas get-together. And he sees it as an opportunity to, spoilers, engage her, to give her a ring. And she's like, I don't know, I gotta get out of here. And then he puts on this coat and runs after her and, you know, stops her in the yard or whatever. And he's looking amazing. He's like looking exactly how I wish I looked in the 90s. And then, you know, she's like, I can't do this. You're rushing me. You are too perfect. I'm not perfect. How could we be together? There's no rhyme or reason for the two of us to be together. And basically, they separate and they don't see each other for a long time. And he basically lets someone else run his flower shop while he does some, I think, investment banking or something like that. I can't remember what. Financial advisor, I think. And she, you know, talks to her friend and, you know, talks things through, like, why did I give up this perfect situation? Why did I do that when, you know, I just kind of need to get over these issues. I put up walls. I put up all these walls, and he's, you know, been able to get through them, but I just put them back up. Why did I do that? What am I supposed to do? And then she, you know, goes to him, and, you know, he's kind of sad, you know, and kind of went back to his work outside of the flower shop, and yeah, and then things kind of, you know, go where you think they're gonna go, and it's really nice. I don't know. I like the 90s atmosphere. I like the flowers. I love the real sets. We have some like we have some sunsets that are beautiful and they're real. If they're not real, they're matte paintings and wonderfully done, but they do not look like the sunsets that we get in movies today, and I love it for that, because today you can just tell they are digital, false sunsets. They can look cool, but they aren't tangible. This is tangible, and we're seeing beautiful flowers in front of these sunsets, and it's great. The 90s clothing, the architecture, all of it it's tangible, it's wonderful. Maybe some of it's on location, maybe some of it's sets, but you can feel it, and I like that about it. I thought it was really nice. I don't think it has a huge reputation because I didn't know about it, and my wife hadn't seen it other than the trailer in front of the Now and Then VHS. But I'm curious if you've seen it. What do you think of it? Has some great music in it, great 90s music in it, and yeah, I just think Christian Slater is great. You know, I said Keanu, for him, I could see Meg Ryan, Sandra Bullock. Sweet November, I could see Charlize Theron in the role. But you know, why recast it? You know, this is what we got here, and I think it's a good film. It's more serious than some of the other movies I've mentioned. That's why I think it maybe tips a little bit more towards maybe Sleepless in Seattle. Yeah, than Sweet November. 'Cause Sweet November has some sillier moments in it. Things are a little more serious here, but yeah, it's nice. The writer director of this wrote the screenplay for Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix. Anyway, yeah, that's my review. And again, have you seen this movie? If so, what do you think of it? Curious to know. Let me know in the comments below. And perhaps I'll see you tomorrow for more Pure Hangout.